Sweep the highs, watch it fail, fade the trap. Dow trader, I just read the map. Two trains, flat by lunch, never miss the rail. Dow trader, liquidity's mine. Green on the day for your coffee's on time. Let's go.
Welcome to the Monday night market update. Today we had a beautiful day in the markets with an overnight gap on the signing of a peace deal or end of war, whatever's going on with all that. Looking good. We are already all the way up at the expected move for the entire week, though. So there is that. When it comes to SPY, we do have this big gap in front of us. I would not be surprised to see sideways movement into FOMC. However, what I'm looking for next on SPY would be a look into this gap that fails and then higher low back above this 751.75, then looking for equal all-time highs. That would be probably the most ideal path up to all-time highs. Also, we could just consolidate here, then catch a higher low over today's high day to get there. And then finally, the other way we could get there, which I would think is least likely at the moment, would be we get a full gap close and then a gap fill reversal back to the upside like that. So that is what I'd be looking at in SPY in the coming days. We'll move over quickly to QQQ, which is going to be a pretty similar story. QQQ, we have pretty much same thing going on the charts. We are also at the expected move for the week already over here as well. So would not be surprised to see consolidation going into FOMC, which is Wednesday. Any looks into the gaps that fail would be good for a long with a higher low back into range targeting all-time highs. Also, if we do get like any type of partial fill or something like that, partial gap fill, or even a full gap fill, I'd be willing to go along on the reversal of that partial or full gap fill on the Qs. Looking good over there. We will now move into what bits of the Mag 7s that I think there is any kind of clean setups on or potential setups with coming up on. So we'll start with Amazon, and let me get zoomed in here because it's pretty worthless zoomed all the way out here. All right, Amazon to me looks like a short with this daily inverted hammer candle left after the gap up. So any lower highs below today's lower day, looking to fill that gap at minimum, if not heading back down towards this 236.25. So if the market's red and market internals are red, that might be a trade worth taking, possibly Google. Doesn't look super bullish. Let me get zoomed in here. And is kind of just consolidating in this range. However, I do like that it did get that hammer candle off of the previous all-time high of 349.75. So if Google can get a clean higher low above 372.25, I would come up and target at least 381, if not breaking above 381 and heading towards all-time highs. If and when we can get that clean higher low above 372.25. Otherwise, I'm just waiting in Google on anything else that happens. NVIDIA, I am liking that we gapped up and are holding above 211 after the end of day here. So with that in mind, there's two paths I would be interested on NVIDIA. One would be a pullback to 211 that holds, get long on that. Or the other would be just a gap fill and then reversal, get long on the gap fill reversal, then a higher low back above 211. Those are the only two paths I'd be interested in trading on NVIDIA. We will now move over to Apple. And then get zoomed in on the chart here. Apple kind of looks like a bear flag on the daily chart, so that's the first thing that you want to keep in mind when trading this thing. However, Let me move this line up just a tad, right about there. 297.25. If market's bullish and all that, market internals are green. If we can get a nice and clean higher low above 297.25, I'd be willing to try and take a scalp long up into towards 300 for thin structure retracement to the left-hand side. Now, Microsoft, on Microsoft, I can tell off the top of my head before we even get there, it looks bearish. And what I am looking for is for if and when it can make its way back up towards 412. It's got all this overhead supply over here to the left-hand side. So I am looking for essentially lower highs off of 412. That was terrible drawing. Let me fix that. So let me just draw out the path here. You could potentially try taking a higher low above 404 into 412. But once we get to 412, I think the base case here is we'd be looking for a lower high there to head back towards the downside. It does look bearish overall on the daily chart configuration. Finally, let's move over to Meta. Sorry, I am trying to move through this as quickly as possible so I can head on to the lake, you know what I mean? Anyways, on Meta, Meta is also looking bearish. We have this overhead supply, previous bounce range up here above 596.75 to 600. So I'm just looking for like a lower high right here, some type of double top, something like that. Head on back towards the downside. So looking for shorts, Microsoft, Meta, those look like good places, possibly Amazon. And as far as other trade ideas, I do have a few going on. We'll start with Intel. Intel's got a really nice high tight flag on the weekly and daily chart. Did gap up today, didn't do much for breaking out, but I am in a swing on Intel from much towards the bottom of this flag. What I'm looking for here, maybe a few days of consolidation, and then eventually a higher low above 130.5 to break out of this flag and really start ripping to the upside. Next, Nokia, ticker NOK. On Nokia, just looking for higher lows, basically above this inside day here to head on towards the upside. So higher lows above $15.05. HPE, ticker HPE, looking for higher lows above 49.75 to break out of this, head on up. Ticker DELL is next. On DELL, looking good on DELL. Just looking for higher lows above today's high a day to kind of break into this flag here. Higher lows above 416.25, heading up towards equal all-time highs is the base idea there. Ticker OKTA. I'm looking for higher lows above 119.45, similar to the DELL chart there. Ticker FROG, FROG. I believe they're software. The way I see this one kind of playing out, it's holding the 20 SMA. Higher lows above $80.75 would be first target to 82.85. Then if we can break above that with a higher low into this flag and a flag breakout would be the main idea. So a lot of potential there with Frog. And then we'll look at Robinhood, which was one of the big movers for today. And I think one of the big reasons it was moving was because Bitcoin did have a nice recovery today. I'm not going to go into the Bitcoin chart, but Bitcoin still looks bearish. And I would not be surprised if we saw one more flush out to the downside on Bitcoin. So with Robinhood, lower highs below today's lower day, probably going to fill this gap. But what I'm really looking for here is if and when we can get a retest of this 93 level to get long on that 93 level. Up and towards the 200 SMA, towards 105. There's some overhead supply on 105 on Robinhood that could be the next challenge in Robinhood's future. That's all I've got for today. Like, subscribe, follow. I'm out.
Yeah. That's the setup, that's the play, that's the plan. Log the trade, close the app, wash my hands. No revenge, no chase, no holding the loss. Down trader, disciplines the boss. You saw the level, you saw the sweep, now you know. Patience over prediction, that's the dog. Trader, smash that subscribe. I'll be back at the open, watch the next one ride. Plan a trade, trade a plan. See you at the bell.